O dabar išpildom 3 karaliaus norus. Prenumeruojam, sekam ir spaudžiam patinka.
In a nutshell, why are you lonely and how to make friends? I guess kaip tik visiems mums, nes mes Twitch'e gyvenam, bet čia naujausias in a nutshell video. Ir aš visai norėčiau jį pažiūrėti. Kada buvo paskutinis išėjęs? Prieš 3 savaitės. Is civilization on the brink of collapse? Bet, sakyčiau, davai pažiūrim šitą geriau. Tada gal tai jau būna Tinderį pažiūrėsim bent 5 minutės, bet I don't know.
Friends make life good. They provide the scaffolding that makes it not just bearable, but fun. They give us a sense of meaning and purpose and are a source of security, self-esteem, and happiness. Almost nothing predicts how happy you will be as how connected you feel, and a lack of social connection is associated with a number
Tau miegot laikas 9, Jesus Christ, okay, labanakt.
of diseases and a shorter life. But maybe you have scrolled through your phone unsure who to call to go to a movie with to
Kalbant apie draugus Lordeksą, jau artėja mūsų diena. 17 diena, jo? Jo, 17 diena, jau artėja. Liko biški daugiau nei savaitę.
with or ask for comfort. You may realize that you don't have enough friends and feel lonely. And it's not just you. Disconnectedness and loneliness are widespread.
Tai klausiu, kas dar bus? Į Indradą, nežinau, ar tu ją žinai iš čia. Tada Kareiras ir Godecija. Ir tada tu ir Demendas. Jo, atrodo viskas.
Many people want more close friends but don't know how to get them.
O, Kareiras
Surprisingly,
vair.
nowadays, loneliness is highest among young people, whose relationships were also hit especially hard by the global pandemic. Social distancing stopped teens and young adults from mingling in classrooms, clubs, or dorms. Millions of friendships, maybe lifelong friendships, that might have blossomed will never exist, with profound long-term consequences for our collective happiness. The good news is that it's not too late, and there are lots of friends to be found. We'll mix scientific information with actionable advice in this video, but we can't address every individual situation. People, cultures, and schedules are different. If you suffer from chronic loneliness, you can also watch the video we made about it. Okay, as with all important things in life, making friends is infuriatingly simple, but not necessarily easy. But it works through a few pretty straightforward mechanisms. The most important thing about making friends. People make friends with other people when they spend casual time together. This is how our ancestors formed their relationships, because humans lived in small, close-knit communities in which options for making friends were limited, so we just formed good relationships with the people who were around us. This is why it's so easy to form new friendships in school and university. Society locks you and your peers in a building for several years. You share similar activities, but more importantly, similar schedules. Overlapping and fluctuating social circles form, naturally giving you regular FaceTime and shared experiences with many different people. Time to find others with similar worldviews or senses of humor. Proximity can be more important than similar interests. One study found that in student dormitories, the distance between rooms was the strongest friendship predictor. Living closer together meant a higher chance of becoming friends. Another study showed that being physically present in a class a lot without saying a word makes others more sympathetic to you. So the most important principle of making friends is to regularly spend time with people in the real world. This alone can make it happen automatically and trumps all other advice. But don't forget that making friends is not a numbers game or a competition. Don't compare yourself to others. Everyone has a social calibrator that can change as you go through life. Maybe you were more introverted as a teen, but yearn for connection in your 20s. Maybe you were part of sprawling social circles, but prefer fewer friends in your 30s. There is no right or wrong, only right for you. Why we don't have enough friends? The main reason for a lack of friendships is the simple fact that most people don't prioritize friendships nearly enough. They don't realize until it's too late that retaining friendships demands regular energy and attention. Although they are so important for happiness, friends often take a back seat to other life decisions. Work, commuting, romance, or kids take up so much time and energy that it's so much easier to crash on your couch and lose yourself in mindless activities. Especially as an adult, going for a bike ride, getting dinner, or visiting a hobby store takes much more mental effort and commitment than it did after school when time ran slower and energy and curiosity were abundant. But it's not just adults who are too busy for friends. The average American teenager spends more time on TikTok every day than socializing at parties, events, or on the phone with friends combined. Established friendships don't require the same time investment as early friendships to keep up, but they do require some commitment. As life distracts you, it's easy to skip out on checking in when a friend goes through exciting or depressing times. And so many friendships fade for lack of attention, often by accident. Which is extra tragic because there is never only one person losing a friend, it's always at least two. Another thing that makes many people vulnerable is the way friendship networks are structured. The friendship paradox is the phenomenon that on average, most people have fewer friends than their friends. Which makes sense since you're more likely to be friends with someone who has many friends than with someone who has few. Rather than being densely interconnected, friend networks are often built around central hubs. So if central people disappear from your life, this can deprive you of many connections at once. And it can lead to a distorted self-perception that you are less popular than others, although you are perfectly average. It can get worse quickly with big life events. Maybe you move for school, work, or love and are left without social networks. Or you had a breakup that left you with the smaller part of the formerly shared social pie. The reasons why you find yourself with less connection than you want are as diverse as people, but the underlying cause is almost always time. There is no shortcut. To make new friends and retain friendships, you have to prioritize relationships, spend time with people in real life, and make them feel that you care. So take a look at yourself and rebalance what you spend your life doing. How to make new friends. Studies have shown that new friendships can develop quite quickly, weeks after you meet someone. But it takes a few months for a casual friendship to become a close relationship, with the biggest impediment being time invested and the quality of your interactions. To make friends, it helps if you intentionally look for people you have things in common with and who are open to new relationships. You want to make it easy for yourself, so examine what kind of person you are. Generally speaking, extroverts tend to crave sensory stimulation, spicier foods, loud music, or the excitement of engaging a crowd. Introverts, often confused with shy people, tend to be more sensitive to sensory stimulants and prefer quieter surroundings, fewer people, and even less spicy food. Different places attract
So
different
true,
people.
less spicy
Not
food,
everybody
please.
can easily make friends at a bar or a football game. Not everybody finds a stroll through a park or a bookstore stimulating. Men especially form friendships around shared activities, but in general, it's a good idea to go to places that feel comfortable, where there are people you might like, who do things you find interesting. Look for local clubs or opportunities to volunteer. Check out what hobby stores are around and dust off your Space Marines, or see if there are new D&D groups in your city and ask if you could join one. Check meetup apps for gaming nights or wine tasting, join a sports club, or look for people who go hiking or want to cook together. Another obvious avenue
Ne
is
visi šitie pomėgiai yra tiesiog fucking tragiški vos ne. Nu gal ne visi, bet daugumą tų išvardintų fuck no.
your professional life. It helps if you work in a job that attracts people like you, so you might consider this when you choose a career.
Aš dirbu darbą streameris, kuris atraktina people, kurie visiškai not like me. Nu gal vienas kitas. Jesus.
Deepening your relationship with colleagues can lead to great friendships,
Čia atraktina
especially
kaip tik
if you
labai
look for
skirtingus
peers and
žmonės.
there is no power imbalance. And of course, there are friends you've lost touch with. You may be able to revive some of these relationships. In some cases, all it needs is a call or an invitation. Research shows that more often than not, the other person will appreciate that you've reached out. There are likely way more opportunities to spend time with others than you are aware of. And if there aren't, you can take the initiative and create them. Invitations are
Group chatai, yeah. Turbūt geriausias Facebooko dar Messengerio išlikęs dalykas, nu tipo ir kodėl naudoja Facebooką dar iki dabar, tai actually group chatas. Tai jo realiai, aš turiu dabar 2 group chatus ir aš paskui pavadinimą vieno. Game on Devilstone, kaip jo pilnas, nepamenu, plėt. Open Messages, gal pilną pavadinimą. šito grup chato pavadinimas Game on Devilstone, maisto ir kekščių chatas. Ir tada kitas yra chatas pas mane grup Picnic vadinas. Grup chato pavadinimas realiai, aš apie tai šiandien kaip tik galvojau, yra realiai, dažniausiai žmonės, kai kuria grup chatą, į title deda tikslą kam. Tai buvo, mes pikniką planavom, mes vieną kartą ir pavadino Picnic. Varėm tada į Gaimono Devilstone, tipo ten, Gaimono Hebrai, žodžiu, ten dirbti vieną tokį. Tai pavadino. Ir po 9 gal metus jau vienas yra, kada mes, kada jis sukurtas, net buvo nebeprisimenu ten. I was parein, full mute, matai ten. Tai ta mūsų draugų grupė ir liko jau ilgą labai laiką ir čia vat ir varom susitikti ir dabar va čia šeštadienį varysim, žinai. Ir tas kitas Picnic chatas realiai, va dabar ir liko ten, kur mano viena draugė Turketa, kur, jau žinot, jau Turketa. Ir ten dar viena tokia lietuvė, tipo mūsų va draugelių grup chatas, kai tik irgi toksai susidarė. Bet tiesa pagrindinis grup chat ir vienintelis laidų riteriai V3.1. Gerai. Bet jo, aš nežinau, draugai tie, nežinau. Dar viena tema turbūt, kur aš būsiu gan unikalus žmogus su unikalia, tipo, patirtim, toli nuo vidurkio, tipo.
To start friendships. So bring people together by having a dinner party, organizing a football game after work.
Mes biškai aptarėm taigės, pažiūrėjau tą, kas atsitiks, kai karalienė mirs. Aš mėginau kažkaip labas ramau paaiškinti žmonėms, kad man emociškai visiškai nerūpi, bet nieks manęs nesuprato, nes tada sako, bet čia jinai istorinis įvyk, aš suprantu tą, bet okei. Tai mes dropinom tą temą, nes tiesiog reikia pripažinti, kad aš tiesiog autistas. Kalbant apie draugus, aš nekėjau apie darbą, tai labai aš esu outlieris irgi, aš negaliu relatinti su random dirbančių žmogum, aš labai nestandartinius darbus turėjau, tipo, tai I cannot fucking, tai čia dabar irgi su draugais. Aš irgi labai smarkiai nuo vidurinio žmogaus nuėjęs. Turbūt, ką reikėjo suprasti iš kalbos, kad man žmonės nepatinka, turbūt ne, bet tiesiog, monarchija kaip sistema man atrodo fucked up, bet iš esmės man tiesiog, nežinau, nesvarbu. Bet jo, kalbant apie draugus. Buvo etapas gyvenime, kai ten turėjau, pavyzdžiui, pirmą draugę, ten, kur ta ilgi santykiai buvo 9 metai ir panašiai. I couldn't give a shit about ten draugai ar kažkoks ten draugų ratas, man tas nerūpėjo. Man rūpėjo mano žaidimai, turnyrai ir mano draugė. Viskas. Tai buvo 2 dalykai, kurie man rūpėjo, tipo, ir man nelabai ten, nei aš norėjau, nieko man nereikėjo, kaip sakant, daugiau. Tada, kai su ta draugė išsiskyrėm galų gale ir ten jau vyresnis buvau, 27 man buvo, jau išsiskyrėm su draugė ir mano tą sporto karjerą aš jau LOLą kaip ir nebenorėjau žaisti ir baigiau LOLą žaisti ir tada galvoju, I guess reikia panagrinėti tą kitą gyvenimo, tą pusę, kur aš apleidęs buvau, kur tipo, man neįdomu buvo. Nes tipo, aš neturėjau draugų, neturėjau žmonių, su kuriais galėčiau išnekėti, kuriam net parašyti galėčiau. Nes tipo, aš niekad nesuformavau jokių draugysčių, nes aš niekad net nebendravau iš tikro. Ten su kai kuriais, draugės, I guess ten bendradarbiais ar ten draugais pabendraudavau, bet tipo, I didn't care about these people, visiškai. Tai galų gale aš susiradau draugų, I don't know how, I guess, tiesiog, matas, vėlgi, aš niekad nebuvau vidutiniškas, tas normalus žmogus, aš buvau karalius tuo metu, aš turėjau tą statusą, kur mane pakvietė į sporto baro atidarimą. Aš ten, atsidarė tas baras, ten atvarė žmonės, ten norėjo ir nusifotkinti, ir pašnekėti, ir panašiai, tipo, aš turėjau žmonių, kurie žinojo, kas aš esu, ypač tuo metu, tipo, ir dar toj geiminimo scenui, tuo metu žinojo, kas aš esu, ir jie stengiasi ten ir pabendrauti su manim, ir susipažinti, tipo, ir tos pažintys taip atsirado labai, tipo, nes aš net jeigu aš būčiau random žmogus, aš net neįsivaizduočiau, ką aš būčiau daręs ir kaip aš būčiau ėjęs ir pristatęs labas aš random žmogus, I have no fucking idea. Tai aš ir sakau, man labai sunku relatinti, ar iš vis suprasti, kaip tai veikia. Nes jo, tada pakvietė į esporto baro atidarimą, aš atvariau ten, susipažinau su pora žmonių, tipo, tenais. Tada vėliau mane random pakvietė ten į gimtadienį žmogus nepažįstamas, paskui tas žmogus tapo, mano geriausia draugė, 3 metai ten gal buvo, tada ten mano ratas, taip, ir tas ratas vis žmonių ten tai kviečia kažkur, tai kažkas mane pažįsta vis, ir šitaip jis formavo, I didn't really have to do much, I guess. Paskui gyvenime einant laikui, aš pradėjau streaminti, nes aš žinau, kad aš nemoku visiškai bendrauti su žmonėm, tai šiaip, kad tiesiog kalbėčiau. Šiaip tas streamimo pradimas ir bendrauti su žmonėm ir pažintis praplėsti ir su daugiau žmonių bendrauti, bet esmė, kad norėjau šnekėti, išmokti ir domėtis temom. Mane skatino tas domėtis temom ir pasakoti tom, kažko domiuosi. Tai iš tos pusės, bet jau niekas iš viso šito proceso nėra normal. Okay.
Or starting a board game group. Everybody appreciates people who organize fun things, and the simple act of reaching out can kickstart a self-propelling upward spiral of well-being, fun, and connectedness that can seriously improve the life of everyone around you in meaningful ways. If you meet someone you vibe with, it's pretty scary to make the first move, but they may feel the same way. Equally interested in a friendship, but also blocked by fear of rejection. So it's worth going for it. Worst case, they're not interested, which will sting for a few hours, but the best case could be a lifelong friendship. A risk well worth the reward. Once you've formed early connections, check in whether they have important things happening in their life. Of course, it's important not to be overbearing, but the more time you invest, the more opportunity you have to engage in meaningful banter or silly jokes. The fact that friendships take time also means that you need to be patient and kind with yourself, especially if you're out of practice. Things will not improve overnight, but slowly, step by step, if you keep up. Open up, care, and share. Many people don't have an issue being around others, but struggle to turn acquaintances into friends. So let's talk about 2 important principles that make it more likely that you'll connect: caring and sharing. In general, our favorite topic is ourselves and the things we care about, because we are literally at the center of our own universe. So people tend to like people who are genuinely interested in them. So if you want to make friends, your goal should be trying to learn what makes.
Kažkokio stebuklo dėka man pasiseka su šitais straitais, nes man yra įdomu, aš gal neturiu to labai, čia kaip pasakė, interested in them, bet care. Aš labai sunku man yra turėti tą care dalyką, bet aš labai smalsus esu ir man labai įdomu, kaip žmonės veikia. Kas pasireiškia, kad man įdomu gilintis į žmonės. Ir tai priima žmonės kaip, kad tu care jais, tipo tau įdomu, tu klausinėjai apie juos, ar tu gilinės juos, tipo tas patinka žmonėm.
Makes them tick. Just as important as caring about others is reciprocity and openness. To connect, you need to share.
Jis buvo empatiškas, aš nemanau, kad aš empatiškas visiškai. Aš smalsus. Man įdomu, kaip veikia žmonės. Kodėl jie priima sprendimus, kuriuos priima. Man įdomu gilintis į juos, tipo, bet čia nėra, I don't know.
The experiences that made you, you. Now you don't want to overwhelm the other person and immediately spill out your deepest secrets.
Jo, ir dar kitas dalykas, aš neturiu jokios problemos pasakoti apie save, apie istorijas. Tipo, for days aš galiu jas pasakoti, jeigu tik nori kažkas ar kažką, tipo, ir tai, I guess, tie 2 dalykai ir tinka. Nes jie pasitikėjimą kuria.
Because this also signals to others that it's okay to do the same.
Jo,
The best case is that you find shared experiences.
pasidalinai tu, jaučia, kad gali pasitikėti, tau pasidalinai.
Maybe you share a passion for weird movies. Learning about others and sharing personal stories in a balanced way and not overdoing it is not an exact science. Noticing the line between opening up and oversharing requires practice and depends on the vibe of the conversation. One of the perplexities of life is that to get something, it can be helpful to convince yourself that you want it less than you do. In general, it's good to be laid back, have fun, and enjoy yourself. Do things for yourself without expectations, but also be open to social opportunities and accept invitations if they show up. And that's basically it. Give friendships more priority in your life. Check in with friends and regularly go to things to have fun. Show genuine interest in others and give them the opportunity to know you without selling yourself too hard. If you do this, you're on track. If this sounds a bit scary, the good news is that human brains are hardwired to seek connection. It's perfectly normal to seek out new friends, and there are many people who would welcome more close relationships. There are friendships up for grabs everywhere, and there are plenty of people who will be so happy to have you in their life. As a good friend, go get to know them. For a short time, there's a free, community-organized, worldwide Kurzgesagt meetup. If you're over 18 and want to take part, go to our temporary subreddit that our community set up for you and look for your area or city to find a Kurzgesagt meetup near you. If there isn't one, don't be shy. Set it up yourself to meet like-minded people.
Įdomu, Lietuvoje kas nors
In order
organizuoja?
to make this less
Interesting. Location index. Aš noriu tik mapą pažiūrėti, ar Europoje iš vis kas nors organizuoja. Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Slovakia, Western Russia, Romania, Moldova, Poland, Hungary, Georgia, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Belarus organizuoja. Interesting. Poland, Warsaw, Ukraine, Kiev. Interesting, organizuojama tai kas nors. Kaip daug kur organizuoja, eina savo. Meetupai. Alright. Gerai, aš tą gal kažkada kitą dieną pažiūrėsiu. Jūs dar kažką numetėt Living with Depression, kur tas video? Nes aš laiko netiek daug turiu, jau vis tiek iki streamo galo.
Depression creeps upon you quietly. At the very beginning, you struggle with the little things, but you usually choose to ignore them. It's like a headache. You'll tell yourself it's temporary and it'll pass. It's just another bad day. But it's not. You're stuck in this state of mind. You get used to putting on a social mask and you continue to live among other people because that's what you have to do. That's what others do. However, the problem does not go away. You struggle to put on a play every day and it starts to cost you more and more. That is why you fall even deeper, and that's when you slowly start to back away from friends and family, sometimes completely shutting them out. All satisfaction is gone. The little things that used to bring you joy are now worthless. Even the simplest tasks become painful, and that is why you lack motivation now. Why would you keep on trying if nothing makes you happy anyway? All of this makes you feel even worse.
Kol kas labai taikliai apibūdino.
Suddenly you find yourself living in slow motion. Days become indistinguishable, just white noise, just heaviness filling your mind and spilling over your body. You feel as though you will never be happy again. You continue to back away and destroy relationships. You're ashamed for everything you've done and everything you haven't. There is a part of you that wants to make things right. A sudden positive upsurge makes you want to go out and meet people, but it's all very short-lived because you know it won't work anyway. Things that make your friends excited leave you indifferent, and you become aware of the huge gap that lies between you and other. Failure is not an option, so in the end you choose to be alone in your comfort zone where no one asks any questions.
Orvelo knyga.
The low self-esteem and the lack of purpose become unbearable. You finally realize you can't go on that way, and two things can happen. You either decide to get some help, or you might attempt a suicide.
Jo, tipo, blėt, sudėtinga lyga ta depresija, blėt, kokia šlykšti lyga, nu nahui. Living with social anxiety, čia tą patį padarė video, ne? Depresija. Isn't real, according to Andrew Tate. Va labai tokia jo, sunku net suvokti, blėt, kad kiekvieną dieną, nu, tipo, tu gali daug dalykų daryti, kurie tau džiaugsmą kelia. Pavalgyti, pageimint kažką, tipo, video net pažiūrėti įdomų, filmą, serialą. Ir visą tai, nu, duoda to kažkokio joy. Pagert, ką nori. Pagert, trenkt žmonai, ką tik nori, jasno. Bet, imagine, niekas tiesiog neduoda jokio džiaugsmo. Ir diena po dienos, ir kas davė džiaugsmą duoda, ir tu pradedi galvoti, nu, what the fuck is wrong with me, tam panašiai. Tai yra toks toksiškas, toks jausmas, kur paglemžia tave ir tu nieko pradedi nebematyti, bedugnė, visiškai bedugnė. Ir jo, kur pasakoja ir nėra kelio. Tik tais arba kai kurie gauna pagalbos, arba bando žudyti. Tipo, šlykšti lyga, belenkaip, holy fuck. Gerai. Living with social anxiety. Čia tai turbūt 9% žmonių, according to Twitch, turės.
I'm not very good with people. If you don't start a conversation, we won't have one. You ever heard of the idea that if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually believe it? She's just shy. She'll grow out of it. This was my lie. So I kept waiting for the day I would finally be able to show my true colors without the fear of being judged. But that day never came. Remember that quiet kid in your class, the one that used to sit in the very back and never raise their hand? Yeah, that's me. Always too scared to speak up, fighting my battles inside my head and losing each and every one of them. A couple years later, not much has changed. What you're about to witness may seem funny until you realize how tragic it actually is. Social anxiety doesn't just ruin your life. It stops you from living it at all. Self-consciousness on steroids.
Social anxiety irgi turi... Nu, tipo, yra ten, kaip ten tas shyness, žinai, ir panašiai, bet dar, man atrodo, yra ir klasifikacija, kaip irgi ten bus sutrikimas, kaip disorderis jau actually. Nu, kad bus, kur ten daug sunkesnė forma. Nes dabar yra populiaru, bet kam, žinai, sakyti social anxiety. Bet ten, nu, kai jau sunkesnė forma, man atrodo, actually patampa... Jo, nu, tai yra klasifikuojama būtų kaip sudėtingesnis dalykas.
That's the perfect description. My life seems quite normal on the surface, so I don't think anybody knows. But my world is black and white. Everything I do has got to be perfect, because if I make a mistake, people will remember it, judge, and laugh until I die. At least, that's how I see it. All the little things you take for granted make me extremely nervous, so I end up sweaty, blushing with a shaky voice and a blank mind. I have no idea how to operate small talk, so I practice for an hour in front of the mirror before I order a coffee. But you can't just shut yourself in. You're an adult now, and a living is not going to make itself. It's hard to get and keep a job though, because it always involves human interaction. So I usually give up halfway through because I can't even enter a room full of people, let alone talk to them. Besides, talking to authority figures is terrifying, so most of the time I subconsciously want to be late.
Ja, čia ta susirasti organizuoja. Pirmas komentaras. Labai geras kanalas, bet jau matau, kiek žmonių iš I am very smart susirinks tokią mytę. Gali būti irgi teisybė. Skamba kaip sekta. Taip, jie tiesiog sukūrė Discordą, okei.
so that I can avoid the meeting altogether. Now, you probably already guessed my love life is not exactly thrilling. Every time I agree to go out, I instantly regret it, wishing I was back in my comfortable bed. And before I leave the house, I practice all the different conversations that might take place. The meeting itself is just a bunch of uncomfortable silences and some serious wall admiring. And in the end, I get completely wasted because it helps with anxiety. The problem is, I talk nonsense when I'm drunk. So the next day, you wake up in terror, overanalyze your performance and identify non-existent flaws. And after an hour of going through each and every detail of what happened, you
Geras
decide
kilimas.
he probably hates you. And then he calls. It's a call you will not answer, and you'll try hard to avoid the guy because you really like him, which makes no sense. I know, the most frustrating part is that I know I'm being irrational. Now, isn't it funny how those who are terrified of human interaction are still more attentive than others? I think people can tell you really listen instead of just staring blankly into the void, waiting for our turn to speak. Maybe that's why I keep attracting weirdos and end up in extremely awkward situations. I mean, I know it's 2017, but that...
I save my used dried out contacts in a baby food jar.
is not a casual first liner, is it? Lesson learned, never take your headphones off in public. I have to admit though, I'm not a complete outcast, but I don't think my friends understand my social anxiety very well. I guess I come off as uninterested or rude, but in reality I'm just too terrified to speak. I try my best though, because alone can turn into lonely pretty fast. So I lie there, all dressed up, trying to remember how humans work before I leave the house, and every single time I know I can't stay, but I don't know how to leave. And all I'm left with in that moment is art. Art allows you to gift wrap your feelings with words and images so that you can hand them over for public consumption without any personal judgment. Nobody needs to know that this one might be about you. Now, you may be wondering if there's anything you can do about it, and the answer is locked away in one simple word. Therapy. You build up your hopes, you try your best, and then you fall apart. Days pass before you finally manage to pick up the pieces and
Social anxiety
together.
bent jau išsprendžiamas, o
time,
ir terapija ir
Part of you
panašiai.
gets lost and you know you're never getting it
Depresija
back.
daug sudėtingesnis.
But I
Irgi
let that,
padėt galima,
which
bet
does not matter, truly slide. Because I know that with every piece I lose along the way, a new, better one will always fill that empty space. And even though I'm not there yet, I know there will come a day when I'm the one in charge.
Jesus Christ, ar jinai, blet, monstras, nahui?
There will come a day.
What are you doing? What the fuck?
When I'm the one in charge.
Anxiety, aš nežinau, gal kažkas, aš nežinau, ar aš turėjau tokį, aišku, čia tokio lygio, kokį apibūdino čia, absurdas. Tikrai žinau, kad ten praktikuojas, ką sakysi, kai nueini kažkur, tipo ten, I don't know, gal dabar mažiau, bet tikrai praktikuodavus. Bet aš manau, labai daug žmonių tą darydavo čia. Formos tikrai yra to social anxiety, žinai, iki kokio lygio tu jį jausi, iki kokio, tipo, dais ir panašiai. Bet kitokios formos, tai tikrai čia, man atrodo, kaip ir depresija, aišku, labai mažai procentai žmonių kas dais. I don't know. Skamba gan gerai. Aišku, ten, kur parašė, tada išeitis yra menas. So fucking true. Ne veltui yra ta sena gera tropė tortured artist, kur nukankinto menininko, taip gal ten tipo. Todėl man gal visai ir įdomu, tokiais prie meno žmonėm, kaip sakant, ne menininkais gal, o prie meno, taip sako. Tas visus keistus ir awkward žmonės taip visą laiką vadino, čia tas tai prie meno biškai.